Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of HorrorHouse Picture Show, the new show on this channel where we have casual discussions about individual horror movies, either new films that have just been released, like episode 1, which was on M. Night Shyamalan's Split, a film which me and the guest for that episode, Nolan Dean, very much liked, or today, where we take either a favorite or just sort of an interesting or completely random audience choice can be horror from the annals of time. Today, we are doing Dracula 1931, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. And joining me today, he was a guest on a recent episode of the podcast. Randall Sans is here.
Oh, thank you for having me back again. It's an honor, especially so soon. I'm glad to be back talking some horror.
I'm very glad to have you back. Of course, I know you know what's going on, and I know you. Was it the first time you'd watched this recently?
Yes, it was the first time I had watched it recently, and then I rewatched it again this morning, just so I can be fresh on it.
Yes. So, initial reactions, because first time watch, I probably watched this for the first time maybe probably only a couple of years ago, but yeah, go initial reactions.
Yeah, I guess initially, like I thought that it's a very beautifully shot film, especially for how early on it was made. I definitely like the way it's lit, the use of the fog and all that. Like it creates a very like horrifying atmosphere, and just like Lugosi as Dracula, like that is the essential like Dracula. That is what it's always been. He's got the amulet, he's got the cloak, he's got the widow's peak. Like that is Dracula.
Yeah. That's where it all comes from. It all comes from Lugosi. Everything from the Count on Sesame Street to
it's the voice, the gravitas that he brought to the performance.
But yeah, you meant like the lighting in the I don't know, yeah, you said the fog and the way the atmosphere is created. It's really what struck me the first time. It's really why I got so much love for it, because I'm a big fan of the whole sort. I'm a big fan of lighting. If there's good lighting in film, or interesting lighting, shadowy stuff, that's why I like this sort of gothic horror stuff.
Yeah,
because it's all like that. But Dracula, it does it maybe better than any other in terms of lighting and creating an atmosphere. I'd say it probably does it better than any of the other, Universal monsters of the 30s.
I would agree. Like especially because when he's mesmerizing, like they have those pencil spotlights like shine in his eyes that like just show you, like give you that like tell you what he's doing. Whereas like the Mummy or some like the Wolfman, like they're just regularly lit. Like they're told like as a regular stage play story of that time, like on film would have been done. Whereas this, they really use the lighting to create an atmosphere and like that really gothic horror mood that you would expect from something like this.
Yeah. What do you make of the whole of the? It's because it uses a lot of silence. There's quite a lot of silence in it. There's
Yeah,
not
that was something that I had thought about with the music. Like they said that I guess like, since at the time it was one of the earlier movies that used sound, they thought that it would be jarring to use like a score throughout the film.
Yeah.
So they just kept like everything silent except for the beginning and the end, really.
Yeah.
Like, and it is kind of weird. But
yeah, it takes some getting used to. It takes some getting used to not have any music through a film at all, especially when there are like fairly long shots of just seeming like there's nothing really happening.
They're just staring.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously the opening is Swan Lake, and anyone who listens to the main podcast knows where I got that music from.
It's a good choice too. It's a good song.
Dracula. But yeah, it's that and I mean, to start off a film, like I know you said when we were talking, that what you've found with these films and the same with Dracula is they sort of start very, very well and then end up like too quickly.
Yeah, very abrupt endings, which I've noticed in a lot of the early 30s like films that I've watched recently. Like the ending just kind of cuts off. Like I think The Mummy did it a little bit better. Like it tapers off and kind of has a more well-rounded like ending. But like, and even though there is an ending, it just feels like there could have been more there. It's like it just abruptly ends, and they could have done more. Like I felt like they could have showed like maybe Dracula and Van Helsing struggling or something like that as he's trying to kill him. But I guess just different time, different era.
Exactly. I mean, speaking of Dracula and Van Helsing, probably my favorite scene in the entire film is that whole hypnosis thing. Because if you'd film that now, there would be a booming score behind it that would just be all over the place. But it's silent, and you just have to look at the Lugosi and Edward Van Sloan, who plays Van Helsing. You just have to look at those two faces, and obviously Dracula's trying to sort of hypnotize Van Helsing, and just for that split second, he just sort of steps forward as though, okay, and then it's just like crucifix time.
And like another scene that I enjoyed a lot with them was like the mirror scene when he first realizes what he is. Like when he looks into the cigar box that had the mirror, like that whole scene was like, I thought it was brilliantly put together. Like this movie, like the effects for the time I thought were really well done. The sets were like massive, like
the sets
especially
are incredible. The sets are incredible. 1931 this is.
Yeah, and I had actually read that like those sets stood there for well over a decade, and they were reused in numerous movies throughout time. Like, and like I think that's pretty good as well. Like the fact that they could repurpose all that stuff. Like they definitely meant to make it like something big, and they definitely built it to last.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, the effects as well. Like you have to look at them from a standpoint of this was 1931. These are actually really impressive. You can't look at it, compared to something now, can you? Which is, I've found what some people do that, and it's completely fair enough because it's difficult to actually get in the mindset of someone who was living in the early 30s.
No, I can agree with that. Like I like the bat. I think the bat
the bats are really cool.
Like and then like in the beginning, it's kind of thrown off a little bit when they show like the possum and the armadillo, and then I think it's called, I can't remember what the type of I guess it's like grasshopper locust bug was, but like they're all native to Southern California.
Not really sort of random castles in Romania.
But I could understand why they would use them because they are weird looking creatures and they're not found everywhere. So
that's I could only presume that's the only reason those, especially an armadillo. It's just a bit strange. But what do you make of Renfield?
The man was crazy.
Yeah.
He like that laugh is ridiculous.
He is a great actor. Dwight Fry, he was in multiple of these Universal horror films. This is his standout. I mean, he's obviously in this. He's the one who originally goes to the castle and meets Dracula for the first time. He's the one who sort of does all these sort of all the Jonathan Harker stuff. It's basically transferred onto Renfield. When he on the boat when you first see him just changed. That's really cool.
Yeah, because he was still pretty normal, and then like by the end of it, going through all the storms, which like I like that whole boat scene as well, which
Yeah,
apparently was taken from like a 1925 silent film from
yeah,
Universal as well. But like I like that whole scene, and then like he's talking to the casket like as they get there, and he's just waiting at the bottom of the stairs, laughing like when they open it up, like
yeah,
that was just like the lighting going straight down. It was
yeah,
really good, well shot, and I thought his acting was phenomenal. At least like of the time, like that was really good. Like that whole scene getting ready, leading up to what was really going to start the story off.
yeah. I mean, everyone's familiar with most people are familiar with the sort of story of Dracula. I don't think we need to really go into exactly what the film's about necessarily. I think everyone's
Yeah,
pretty clear.
it's been around since the late 1800s.
Yeah, you should have read it by now. I mean, everyone who's not 140 years old. But um, well, yeah. Do you know what? One of my weirdly favorite parts of this film is, again, this, like, if you're watching this, you must think, why do I love this film so much if I keep bringing up the slightly ridiculous things? But the doctor, who is outrageously cockney, who just sort of, he's a very small character, but he's like Renfield's doctor when they're in England.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's like Dick Van Dyke. It's like Dick Van Dyke style cockney. It's hilarious. It shouldn't be funny. This is not supposed to be a funny film, but I can't help but laugh whenever he comes on. For some reason, it makes me love it more because I don't know if it's his delivery, if it's his animated sort of movements, but for some reason, that man sticks with me. I forget the actor's name.
They made him seem like he was almost crazy himself too, in a little bit of a way.
Maybe that's what they were going for. I've never thought about that, but maybe that's what they were going for.
And then it makes kind of sense with like the whole like mental asylum thing. Like the people running it were also crazy and just like running experiments on all those poor souls.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh yeah. Yeah. What else do you have thoughts on? Seeing as you are more of a newbie to this than I am.
And like for me, like I really like when I go in and look at these classic films, like I like to look at how they were shot in comparison to like something nowadays. Like it's very just one camera a lot. Like they'll do multiple shots from different angles, but it's usually just it's pieced together differently than it would be now with like a multi-camera shot that's all blended later.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I like the props and everything like that. Like this, them in the stagecoach, like it rocking around and bumping around on the road, like that stuff. To me, is like, I like seeing that type of stuff in film, and like learning the different history behind how that type of stuff was done. And like in comparison to now, we would just CG it or something like that.
That's definitely, that's definitely one of the most interesting things about looking back at these films is reading up on how things were done. It's almost more interesting than, say, like now you get behind the scenes VFX featurettes on Blu-rays of stuff like Star Wars and whatever, but it's almost not as interesting as seeing or reading up on how stuff was done back in the 30s.
Yeah, because they have to bring in historians to like basically piece it together from people's like hearsay, writing, talking to people that were actually there, like because it wasn't really written down or recorded, so it just makes it really interesting. Like especially now, like that movie is what it's over 80 years old, and it's still like it looked like the restoration they did on it is beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean I know you said as well because you watched pretty much all of the classic ones that the sort of preservation of them has been really well done.
Yeah, and there actually is like a little featurette like on the Blu-ray that like they go into how they did it, and like they went to the like here like a lot of those have been donated to the National Archives, and they're
Yeah.
stored in Washington D.C. by the Smithsonian, but they have special rights to theirs, so they can go back and get the original negatives, and they like ran them through a special solution for the type of film it was at the time, and it removed the scratches as they were copying it. And then they went back in and they did like certain parts of it were too damaged to really copy, so they had to piece together from other less damaged copies from other studios around the world that had it. So like they did a lot of stuff to it and repairing it to make it look as good and sound as good as it did when they were watching it in the 30s. They at least try to get it as close as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to think about that. I mean, these, films like this are worth doing that to save. Like, this isn't, these aren't just like these are pieces of history.
Yeah, these were films that were seen by massive crowds. Like when they came out, they like everyone saw these things because that's all there was to watch. There was no television, and like if you wanted to see this stuff, you had to go see it in the theater, and that's what people did for entertainment at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you say, to be back in the 30s, but whether that's actually true or not, I don't know.
Well, here it would have yeah, because like that was at the beginning of the Great Depression as well, where everyone was poor. But they basically created movies to get like to entertain the poor, so they weren't looting and rioting whatever they could. So they made them as cheap as possible.
Cheap tickets.
Yeah, it's like I know
entire day.
I know in the 60s, like my grandmother said that she could go to the movies for a nickel, see 2 movies, and have popcorn and drink for both movies for a nickel.
See, that's just what it should be like.
Yeah.
Really what it should be like. Why is it not like that? Why do we have to spend
upwards of almost $20 in some areas, or probably like 10, 12 pounds over there?
Yeah, £12 sometimes. If you pick a really sort of bad cinema and it's peak time, but by bad I mean like expensive, and it's peak time, you'll be paying £12, which is ridiculous. For one film that you might not even like.
Yeah, it's like I'm lucky enough, like in my area, it's not too expensive. Like the nicer theaters, yeah, they're like $10 to $12, depending if you're seeing 3D. But you can go to other theaters and pay $7 and be just fine.
I didn't even think about IMAX or anything like that. Oh God, you could.
On our IMAX here, I'm lucky enough I only pay $7 for my tickets for that.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah,
that is quite good.
And all of it goes straight to the museum. It's part of the museum. That's where I go see most of my movies.
Okay. That's quite nice, actually. I tell you something though. Getting back onto Dracula, aside from complaining about IMAX prices, this is one that I would love to see on a big screen like that. I mean, I know obviously it's not going to be like that because of aspect ratios and stuff like that, but
it could still be done. I think it would look good on a big screen still.
Yeah, just
seeing it in a theater atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. Just sat in somewhere like that, watching something like this. And to be honest, all of those Universal monster films I want to see. I just want to spend a day, hire out a screen, just a screening for a day, for an entire day, just watch them all. It would be my perfect day. That would be like Christmas.
I'm surprised Universal Studios doesn't do it like once a year or something like that. Just have like an old classic Universal Monsters night at their theater there, because they have like a state-of-the-art theater in Hollywood on I guess the little mall section that they have.
Yeah,
and they could do. I feel like they should do that if they haven't already.
Well, I'm trying to think now because I was in Universal Orlando a couple of years ago, No, I don't think it was like a show that I know they put on sort of like it's supposed to be it's supposed to be like an attraction of the theme park, but they put on like a show of basically all the Universal monsters. It's sort of like a makeup show and an effects show.
Yeah.
They put on one of those, but which was good. But I didn't see anywhere where they were actually. To be fair, I saw shockingly little Universal monster stuff. I was disappointed at the lack of being me. Obviously, I was disappointed at the lack of old Universal monster merchandise and stuff and characters and shows. I
I
mean,
wonder
like,
if it's just the difference between Orlando and Hollywood, because
it
like in
might
Hollywood, like all the parking lots were the Universal like monsters. Like it was the Frankenstein lot, Wolfman lot, Dracula lot, and then
I
like they definitely had them walking around
don't know if that's the case at Orlando. I don't
because
know.
I haven't been to the one in Orlando, so I have no idea. I just know like it was cool because like I had like Lugosi Dracula serving me like my
Oh,
lunch.
that's
Well,
that's what we want. That is
and like
exactly what we want.
yes, I wish I would have taken a picture with him, but like he was in full character. Like he was like, "Have you seen
Oh,
my films?" It was
oh
so
dear.
awesome.
Yes. That's perfect. That's what we need.
Yep.
Oh, sweet. Bela Lugosi serving you lunch.
That's
Well, it's not
exactly. Yeah.
actually. It's obviously
It,
not actually Bela Lugosi, but
of course.
well, it might be.
It'd be nice. The guy
You know.
looked very similar. Very similar.
Oh dear. Anything else you want? Anything else you want to say, or any
I,
other reactions you had to this wonderful film?
um, I would say that after seeing like a lot of these classic films, I feel like they are treasures. Like they are something that I feel like anyone that is a film lover, even if they're not horror film lovers, like I feel like you should see these films. They are really good. They're well done.
Oh yeah,
And I've had a blast going through them and rewatching them and just experiencing a different era of film. But I've enjoyed every one that I've seen so far. I got a couple more that I'm gonna watch.
yeah. What
But
have you got left? What have you got left to what?
I still have The Invisible Man left, and I still haven't watched Frankenstein or The Bride of Frankenstein. I have them just yeah. So those are still waiting in the case.
Oh, yeah. That's
So
gonna be a nice treat for you.
yep.
Those three.
But so far I've enjoyed all of them that I've seen. And it was also nice being able to experience a little bit of the history, like seeing the like sets and stuff and the sound stages where a lot of it was recorded out in Hollywood because they still have all that standing. Like so that was kind of really cool to be able to see as well. So it adds a little bit more to the history of knowing about those films.
Yeah, that's why I need to get to Hollywood.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
Really, what I should do. Oh,
big city feel without like feeling like you're locked in.
Yeah,
like New York City.
Well, I like New York as well.
Oh, New York's beautiful. Like the city itself is beautiful. It's just like everyone is just kind of on top of each other there because it's a small island.
Yeah.
Which
okay, we've been on enough tangents, I think, in this episode.
All right.
We'll have to be wrapping up soon.
Yep.
But we talked a little bit about Dracula. I think you got some sort of general idea of what we think about Dracula. A couple of stuff to look out for. If you've never watched it before, you've got a couple of stuff to look out for. The funny Cockney, reminiscent of Dick Van Dyke man, is always a highlight. And of course, just watch and learn how to act from Bela Lugosi, because that is how you portray a character so perfectly that he was horribly typecast.
He was. He could have been a great character actor.
He couldn't do anything else because everybody just saw him as Dracula. But that means he was great as Dracula. If
Exactly
he
what it means.
wasn't great as Dracula, then he might have had a longer and arguably more successful career. What a shame. Bela, you poor man.
One great performance. It was a blessing and a curse.
Yes, it was. More of a blessing for us now. Not so much a curse for anyone but Lugosi.
Yeah, spent most of his life broke, unfortunately.
He did. Watch Ed Wood as well. That's a nice Lugosi. Half Lugosi biopic, half Ed Wood biopic.
Yeah, my roommate was telling me I need to see that as well. So I'll be adding that to the list.
Yes, you do. Especially with you watching all these Universal monsters now. Ed Wood should come at the end of that. After you've finished with Invisible Man and Frankenstein and Bride, do that.
All right. Well, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, guys, I think that'll do it for the second episode of the Picture Show here on the Purple Dawn YouTube channel. If you did like it, please share this around because it was fun. And, tweet at me at the Purple Dawn, tweet at Randall at Randall Sans, or tweet at the podcast's Twitter, which is at HorrorHouse Pod. Use hashtag HH Picture Show if you want to talk about this episode. If you have questions, if you have suggestions for any future movies we should really, really casually discuss, and then probably complain about IMAX prices again, because I think we did that last episode as well. So if you like us, if you like complaining about IMAX prices, share this episode around. Randall, anything you want to say?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure as always to be able to talk to you, especially about this. I've come here really mostly to learn more about these films from you. Like, you inspired me to watch more of these classic films through your love for them.
Special.
So
that makes me feel very special.
So I thank you, and I thank you for having me on, and it's been awesome.
Right, you're very welcome, guys. That will do us. So until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.